ahead and getting this shoot in at night so that I can put it online first thing in the morning and get to running my dogs in the morning. Had some really good races this morning after we did the shoot. But I want to get one ready for tomorrow because sometimes it takes a little while to get these things posted. The internet's not the greatest out here. So maybe in the morning if I get up and post this, it'll be out there early for you. Anyhow, we've been in this series on types of dogs. And, we talked about the show dog. And there was a couple things I probably left out about the show dog to tie it in with us. But, it is our job to show others what we need to show them. So there is a time when it's good to show, but you don't want to just be a show dog. And a couple other things that I left out that I thought about. Every time I do one of these, I don't really have a script, so you always think of something else you wish you would have added. So by doing this next one, it allows me to go back and kind of recap on the last one I did. But when someone's judging a show dog, any defect that dog has, they're going to kick it out right away. It's not worthy to be a bench champion. Maybe its teeth are crooked. Maybe it has an underbite, an overbite. One ear hangs a little lower than the other one. It's just got some deformity somewhere. You look at the show dogs that go to, like I said, that Westminster dog show. They're sitting there grooming the different dogs. Can you imagine if they found a scratch on a dog's ear because it was a hunting dog? Oh, they'd probably throw that one right out. And heaven forbid it had a tick on it. That just would be, their nose would go up in the air real quick if they were judging something like that. So what my point to all that is this, is thank God that He, our master, does not judge us that way. He made all of us unique and different. And some of us have different looks than others. Some of us have gray hair on our face as we get older. Others don't. Some go bald. Some have hair. Some have an overbite, an underbite. But we're all God's creation. So He doesn't throw us out just because we have a small defect. Now, the defect that we do have is that we have a sin nature. But we do know how to get forgiveness for that. And if you don't know about that, you feel free to call me on my cell phone and I'll talk to you about that as well. But now we're going to move to the next type dog. I just wanted to throw that back in on the show dog because I might have got distracted by old Ruger running around in the yard this morning. And my wife thought that was cute, but anyhow. Tonight we're going to talk about the next one on the series. Is going to be the Walkie Talkie dog. This is not a dog that any of us that are rabbit hunters care anything about, but it is a type of a Beagle. And there is actually some guys that go out and do this type of trial. They call them brace Beagles. There's a whole lot of different names these dogs go by. Most of them are not good names. The guys that are in the competition, they like to call it brace beagling. They typically put a couple of dogs down on the ground. Some people will call them peanut rollers because their noses are on the ground, and as they scoot along, it looks like they're rolling a peanut because they move so slow. They're known as, some people call them hole blowers. They blow a hole in the ground, and what they mean by that is they're just moving so slow that they sit there and bark on the track. Their claim to fame is, and what the guys do this for, from what I've researched and read, obviously I've never owned a walkie-talkie, will never own a walkie-talkie dog ever in my life, but they want something with line control. They've got hung up on line control. While that is very important, they have got hung up on line control to the point that these dogs typically don't have much hunt in them. They don't have any jump to them. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I've been told, never been to one, but from what I've read and what I've heard, they actually go out and they keep the Beagles on a leash, on a lead, and they go out and beat the briars or whatever for them till they produce a rabbit, and then they yell tally-ho, meaning they found a rabbit. That's where that term tally-ho come from what I understand. And when you're watching this, don't crucify me if I've got any of this information wrong. I'm going to first tell you I don't know everything about anything, and especially about field trials. This is just information that I've had and will tie to our analogy. But they put the dogs on the ground, the two dogs on the ground, and the dogs get on the track, and they literally take forever to move along. They walk behind them. That's why they're called walkie-talkies. They walk. The dogs actually walk. They're not running. They're just sitting there moving real slow. It might take them 20 minutes to go 50 yards, just depending on how hung up on that track they are. It'd be very hard to kill a rabbit unless you shot it on the jump with these type dogs, because the rabbit, he can go take a nap. It reminds me of the story of the tortoise and the hare, where the rabbit went out there and took a nap, and the turtle kept on coming. But, you know, if I was going to use this type of dog, I think I would get a turtle and try to train it on how to follow a track. That'd be a lot more challenging to me. But these dogs can be 13, 15 inches, the same size of what we run. But you're going to see them. Most of them are fat. They're not gonna put themselves in shape because they're not really running. They're just kind of walking. And they're talking a whole lot. They're barking on the same track. And you know, like I said, they got hung up on line control was one of the reasons. And while that is an important element, and we'll talk about that when we talk about another type dog, you know, you can get hung up on certain things in life to the point that you neglect all the other things you need. You really need a combination of a lot of things. You know, there's a lot of people that get caught up in religion, in churches. They get caught up on one certain thing, and they'll split hairs with everybody over the most important thing. You know, it no longer becomes about, are you a follower of Christ? Well, you follow Christ, but do you use this version of the Bible? Because if you don't, I can't talk to you. Do you use this hymnal? Or you know, all these little crazy things that don't really, they're not the most important thing in the whole, when you look at the big picture. They're just things that cause people to have division a lot of times. And I'm not trying to get off on some rat race or, you know, chase a rabbit down a trail and get sideways with any of you. If you think that there's only one version of the Bible, that's fine. You know, whatever. My main thing is, do you believe and practice what's in the Bible that you're reading? And yes, there are versions that have things in them that I don't always agree with exact, but there are some things that are explained better in other versions. So that's just a whole different topic altogether. I'm just simply making the analogy that in this, they got caught up on line control and took it to an extreme. They slowed the dog down. It was no longer about the race. It was no longer about the jump. It was strictly about line control. And for those of you that don't know what line control is, that when a rabbit runs a track, okay, if it runs this way, they call that the line. Line control means, are your dogs on this line that the rabbit went on, or when the rabbit went this way, did the dogs go over here, back over here, back over here, and all over the place, or are they on the line, meaning on the track? And we'll cover that again later. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about line control. It is important, but if you take one thing, it's just like when we talk about the jump dog. If that's all you're going to talk about is a dog that'll jump, somebody's got to run the rabbit. What good does it do to jump it if you don't run it? By the same token, if you can run it, but you can't jump it, nobody gets it started. So there is a place for all these different types of characteristics that are in these dogs, but on this one here, it's not anything that those of us that like to rabbit hunt are usually into, because, you know, it's been said, and if you go online, and what I challenge you to do, if you really want to see what a walkie-talkie dog is just simply go on YouTube and search walkie-talkie dogs, brace beagle. You know, you can watch it, and you'll see the guys walking and standing there and walking and standing. I would fall asleep. It's like watching paint dry to me. But if you're into brace beagles and happen to be watching this, whatever rocks your boat. But it's nothing I'm interested in. But how we tie this to us. You know, you got a dog out here that's barely moving forward, but doing a whole lot of barking. Making a whole lot of noise, but not really producing much as far as going anywhere. Now, there's a lady that follows all these, and I know she's going to watch this, Miss Diane Grubbs up in Virginia. Enjoy her comments that she puts on. And she talked about yesterday's that, you know, walk the walk and talk the talk. She had no idea Walkie Talkie was the next dog on there. Thank you, Miss Diane. I appreciate you watching these. But you have people that act like they're going to talk the talk, but they're not going to walk the walk. And so we all know what that saying means. And you got a whole lot of people in life, in church and all that, they get up and boy, they're making a lot of noise. They are making a ton of noise on Sundays, but they're not moving anything forward. They're just making a lot of noise. Everybody look at me, kind of like a show dog. Everybody look at me, but they're not moving anything. They don't ever get up and run anywhere. They just walk real slow. Everywhere they go, they just move real slow. But they keep barking about this one thing they're on. And, there's so much tradition that people get caught up in, and they just don't want to make any changes. And so, there's a fine line between having line control and not having line control, but you've got to be able to move on that line. Just to have line control and not have anything. It's going to be the same thing when we talk about fast dogs. You've got to have a combination of things. You've got to have control and speed if you're going to do what those of us that want to rabbit hunt enjoy doing. I was reading some different articles as I was coming on here. It reminded me of something that I went to. I told y'all I went to one field trial. Is all I've ever been to in my life. Now this field trial was a little different. It was, you brought your own 3 to 5 dogs and you were on a clock. They started a clock and you had 15 minutes to jump a rabbit or you were disqualified. You had 30 minutes of run time, meaning you had 30 minutes to run once you jumped it. If you jumped it in that first 15 minutes, they started one stopwatch and it went for 30 minutes. When your dogs were running, they hit this stopwatch. When your dog stopped running, they hit it again. And that was called positive run time, meaning that when your dogs were running the rabbit, that was positive run time. And you were trying to get the most positive run time that you could get out of your 30-minute allotment. And then at the end of it, you had 15 minutes to get your dogs under control, meaning get them back on the lead or get them back in your box without the use of a shock collar. So that was their rules. So David, my buddy, and I, this is the same one where they did the show that I talked about, that our dogs went up there to be judged and got put right off the bench real quick. So anyhow, we went to the time run part, and the guy who won this was strutting around like he was all that. But what he did is he brought 4 walkie-talkie dogs, and there was no way that you were going to beat a guy with 30 minutes out of 30 minutes run time if you had any checks at all, because his dogs just got on it, didn't really move it anywhere, didn't take it anywhere, but they run and bark, they walked and barked for 30 minutes. And then, of course, they're so slow, he walked over and put the lead on them and had no trouble. Now, that's a guy that won a trophy. He won a bragging right that he won a field trial under that format. But here's the thing. Those of us that were there with rabbit dogs for hunting, we would not have took those dogs home if he would have gave them to us and gave us money to take them, because that's not what we wanted. And a lot of times when you look at people that are over here and their mouth is yeah, 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 yeah all the time, but they're not really doing anything. They talk a big talk, but they're not really moving anywhere in life. And people don't want to be like that. So you don't want to be like the walkie-talkie dog, but we do need to make sure that our walk can back up our talk. And there is times when we have to slow down. And, the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. And when we talked about the fruit of the Spirit, remember this one, be slow to anger. That talked about patience and talked about guarding your tongue and stuff. And you remember those, I'm sure, from when we did that series. So I am going to tie one thing in with a walkie-talkie dog. Those of you that are dads, those of you that are husbands, I challenge you. Do a walkie-talkie with your children and or your wife. You say, well, what are you talking about? Slow down the rat race of life. Take a little time. Have a good conversation with your wife without any disturbances of any kind. I'm going to talk to myself here for a minute. Put your cell phone down and take a little time to communicate with your wife. Maybe take her on a walk. It's a little hot right now, but maybe get up in the morning or one evening or something and take her on a walk, or just say, hey, I just want to have a little time with you. Because the problem with life is we rush through it so fast and so much, and it goes by so quick. And I can tell you, those of you that have kids, I can tell you this, because I went down this road. I was a workaholic, trying to make it, trying to get after it, really worked hard and was working all the time. Living with this little false carrot out in front of me that when I worked hard enough and I got where I needed to be, that I would slow down and I would have some time with my kids. Next weekend, I'll get to them. I'll get to them. And you know what? Life has a way of getting away from you. And so I missed a lot of valuable times that I could have had with my kids. And I have a great relationship with all three of my children, don't mistake that. But I made some mistakes by not taking time out of my busy schedule to realize what was really important. And when we get so tied up, and life has a way of throwing us into all this, I mean, we all have all kind of things we do. People go, oh my goodness, I don't know how you get all this done. Well, you work hard, you have to go. But if you don't stop every now and then, what's the purpose of living life if you're wide open all the time? Well, you think you're going to one day mysteriously be able to just stop? We fall into that trap. So I challenge you to take a little time. Be like the walkie talkie dog as far as take a little time and spend it with those that you need to spend it with. Take in life. You know, the old saying, stop and smell the roses. Well, stop and realize what's around you, because it's going to fly by. You're going to blink. Your kids are going to be grown. And then you're going to get old. And you're not going to have the energy level that you have now. And then it's going to be a little difficult to get that back. So that's my challenge for you, is make your walk and your talk. You know, back up the talk with the walk of your life. Be real, but slow down some. Smell the roses in life and enjoy those around you. I appreciate y'all watching this, and I'll get on the next one the next day after this one. And if you've enjoyed this, feel free to share it. The more it gets shared, the more people see this, and hopefully they'll get a blessing out of it too. But I really enjoy doing these, and I hope that you're getting something out of them. Y'all have a great day.